Hello right bags, it's Jade. Welcome to another Survival Games 2019. Today we're going to be taking a look at two categories that I gave you guys the options to vote for. The first one being the best survival strategy simulation survival game. It's got so much survival I put it in twice, and we're also going to be taking a look at the best early access game of 2019. Doesn't necessarily have to be one that came out this year, but just the one that you guys are more looking forward to being developed and carry on adding content to for 2020. Go and check out all the other videos including the best story, the best worlds, the worst game, best PvP and much more, and don't forget to like this video. When you think of survival, so many of you guys are just so hooked on games like Ark and Conan, you often don't think about all the other games that are survival. So I included the best strategy simulation game. Over 2,000 of you guys voted. Here is the rundown quickly. Number 5, Genesis Alpha 1. I don't think so many of you guys really caught this. It's available on console. It's a deep FPS shooter strategy game. You build yourself your own spaceship, adding modules to keep enemies at bay. The enemies are the aliens that you will find on planets that you explore. They'll often stow away on your ship, and it's up to you to make sure they don't get to some of your critical systems. It's got various different types of weapons, gunplay, but it also adds a strategic element to it about where you're going to build your modules and how to basically marshal and control the species of aliens attacking you. The planet exploration is pretty interesting too, gathering resources and bringing them back and refining them. Genesis Alpha 1 should definitely be a little bit higher for me. Number 4, Frostpunk is a survival city builder. The raging cold is destroying your way of life, and so you need to find a way to build up your own town. Getting the fires stoked, controlling the people, making sure they don't mutiny against you, all the while adding to your buildings and settlements. I think Frostpunk's a great little game. You can get to grips with this one a little bit easier than something like City Skylines. Best bit as well that it's on console as well, and they've just been updating the game with free content as well as some paid DLC. If you really want a different experience, a game, a city builder that actually matters and has consequences, then absolutely Frostpunk is for you. The way that the people will rise up sometimes and disagree with your decisions or challenge you throws a real spanner in the works. You've got to juggle what the people want and ultimately what's going to keep everyone alive in this cold, harsh environment. Conan Unconquered has kind of just dropped off everyone's radars, but I thought it was a pretty competent survival simulation game. It's pretty much a horde mode city builder. Waves and waves of enemies are going to attack you, and it's up to you to stop them by placing your base defences around and making sure you've got plenty of units to fight back. You can build walls, you can build up all sorts of different special buildings, and you'll go against pretty much all the enemies from the Conan Exiles games. Not available on console, and I don't think they've got any plans to produce it as yet. It's still a fairly decent survival strategy game, and out of some of them that have come about in the last few years, I think it's definitely the heads above some of the others. Number 2 was Oxygen Not Included. I love this game. Trying to build and survive in the underground depths with your minions. It's pretty complicated though, and for a numpty like me it took a real while to get into, but once you do, finding ways to get more oxygen, replenishing your water supplies, and further building in and out everywhere so that you avoid the toxic gases means that Oxygen Not Included really is a in-depth compelling game. But number 1 is The Isle. It is a simulation game, and more importantly it's a dinosaur simulation game. Maybe that's why everyone's voted for it. It's still in early access on PC and there's no plans to bring it on console just yet. In fact, development has kind of been a bit stalling over the last couple of years. They haven't pushed on as much as maybe other people would have thought. It's been in early access a while. But The Isle clearly offers players a chance to roleplay as something that's not just a humanoid smacking a tree. Being a T-Rex or a Raptor or a Steg, I guess is really appealing to players. So for the vast majority who have not even played it, that's why you voted it as number 1. 48% of you. I'll be looking forward to trying this out. It's been on my hit list for a long time, I just haven't had the time. And until I ever hear any news about either full release or it coming to console, I'm probably just not going to cover it until then. Big shout out to Satisfactory, I really enjoyed that and I felt it was nearly there, but I guess it just doesn't have enough survival mechanics, although you do need to eat to progress, but that was definitely something I enjoyed. And They Are Billions is a decent city builder horde mode game as well. Now let's move on to the best early access game 2019. There's 1,000,001 survival games, but there's still quite a fair few that have not yet appeared on console. We might even have to wait until the next generation before we see so many. But for sure there's been some great early access games. Like it or hate it, they've made a big impact. So here are the 5 best early access games. They didn't necessarily have to come out this year, but in my opinion these nominations are the ones that you should maybe think about trying out. Number 5, tied together out with nearly 3,000 votes, The Raft and Scum. The Raft is a quintessential exploration and survival game. Stuck on a raft, having to get food and water from fish and fight off a hungry shark. It's been fleshed out a lot in the last year, although again it probably needs a fair decent more amount of actual content. The Raft has succeeded though in giving frequent updates and keeping the players that really love this game engaged. Add the fact it's got co-op to it as well, creative mode, and I think The Raft is pretty doing well for itself. It's definitely one game that I always want to play with every brand new update. Scum on the other hand is a little bit more interesting. Over 1 million players bought the game within like 4 or 5 weeks when it first came out, and then it died. At its peak it had 68,000 people playing it on release week. 1 year later and that had dropped down to 6,000 players. Now to be fair, them numbers aren't too bad, and it coincided with an anniversary update. But in between that time, the game has dropped down to little over 2,000 players, and it's already starting to slip even further. Maybe it's just too similar to DayZ, maybe it doesn't have enough interesting fresh content. It's not like the developers haven't tried. They've updated the game frequently, they've added lots of quality of life improvements and fixes during early access, and the numbers aren't exactly the end of the world. DayZ had even less players at one point, and look how popular it is at the moment. So there's hope for Scum yet. They've made some big changes recently, or getting rid of their fame rewards point system, and they're just about to add a brand new city area to the game. I won't trash it too much, it's still offering and trying to do something a little bit different with its genre. It's got some great art, it looks fantastic, some of the models. It just needs to find a way to keep players engaged. I think also if they could get a game preview version on Xbox, we'd see Scum's popularity rise even further. Number 3, Stranded Deep. 10% of the votes maybe not be that much, but you guys are probably dying to see this game come to Xbox and PS4. It's had a troubled history, being a long game in early access, but it is coming close to full release. They've just added co-op this year, and hopefully they're going to be able to add some more multiplayer areas to it next year. I'm predicting this is going to be coming to Xbox and PlayStation in the new year. We've already had some drama with the Telltale collapse which affected Stranded Deep, which meant after they revealed that it was coming to console, only a month later that got cancelled. The devs had to go through a whole process to get their rights back and find another port team or the same port team to finish the job and get another publisher to help them get it out there. But Stranded Deep is coming, it will be hitting Xbox and PlayStation, and it's looking likely to leave early access in 2020. Exploring a procedurally generated world, lots of islands to conquer, and of course the threat of creatures like sharks. They're adding story content to it as well to flesh it out a bit more, so I'm interested in seeing where Stranded Deep is going, and so are you guys. Number 2, a contentious one I've seen a few salty comments from. Atlas, 18% of you. Atlas has had some dark days since its launch, dropping down to only 2,000 players. But ever since it launched on Xbox and a big update that came with it, Atlas has actually improved. It's got more players playing it than it has in the last 9 months, and you guys are absolutely loving it on Xbox. I think that's down to just a lack of choice of these types of games. I won't wax on too much about Atlas. I've said previously I think it's got some great ideas and I want to see more of it in the future. But I'm a bit disappointed that recently it looks like the developers are all helping out with Ark and their next DLC Genesis, as they announced a period of time where they'll be working on quality of life update, which is secretly code for them helping out their sister studio Wildcard. They have revamped their roadmap, they've got brand new plans and a new lead developer taking it forward. Is Atlas ever going to be as popular as it maybe wanted to be? Maybe not, but I still think this has got a good chance of being a solid game. It just needs more people playing it and the developers adding more of the content that they've talked about. One for the long haul, being a pirate in a survival setting, this is the closest you'll ever get. But number 1 with 53% is Subnautica and Below Zero. The sequel, or I should say standalone game, many people felt it should have just been DLC. But they did more than just rehash what they already had. They've really tried to add something new to it, with loads of story content added, but there have been some pitfalls. They've recently just announced that they've scrapped the original story intro and they've reworked it completely. They still don't know exactly where they want to end up with it, but it does look like the original storyline maybe wasn't up to scratch or as engaging as they had thought. Nevertheless, the biomes, the creatures that you're experiencing in Subnautica Below Zero has really got a lot of you guys excited. Nearly 3,000 votes, 53% of you voted it as the best early access game of 2019. The devs have previously said that they wouldn't think really about adding multiplayer, and they almost added multiplayer to the original Subnautica but felt it just didn't really work. But I would dearly love them to reconsider this for Below Zero. Even if it doesn't really make sense, the forest multiplayer doesn't really fit in with the rest of the game, but it still is enjoyable with your friends. So please, Subnautica, make sure you add multiplayer. And that is it. Agree, disagree, should have had some different options up there? Yeah, for sure. There's a bunch of early access games I'm keen on following even more in 2020, including Myst, Subsistence, Survive the Night, and a whole lot more, but I could only choose 5. Don't forget to like all my other poll videos I've got going on, the best survival games of 2019, and I will see you, Ratbags, very soon.